Due to the nature of pro wrestling, it can be extremely hard for wrestlers to remember everything they planned to include in a match. This means that more often than not, wrestlers will end up calling spots in the ring, which is in essence the art of verbally communicating the next spot to each other in the middle of a match. Additionally, there have been times where a wrestler has outright forgot a spot that was supposed to happen in a match, and this resulted in their opponent audibly telling them in the middle of the match what they should do next. So let's take a look at 10 times WWE wrestlers help their opponents remember their spots. Number 10, the Big Show reminds everyone of the elimination order at the Royal Rumble in 2004. A Royal Rumble match can get confusing. There are 30 wrestlers that need to know what they are doing in the match, and botches and mistakes can easily happen at any time. This is exactly what happened at the 2004 Royal Rumble. Towards the end of the match, you could audibly hear the Big Show tell RVD and John Cena, "Cena first and then RVD." Big Show was referencing the elimination order, which happened seconds later. It appeared as if either RVD or John Cena had forgotten which order they were supposed to be eliminated in, so they needed clarity in order for the rest of the match to go smoothly. Number 9, hard cam at the Royal Rumble in 2007. The Great KHALI wasn't the greatest wrestler in the world, and sometimes he had some bizarre yet humorous errors in matches. We have to rewind back to the 2007 Royal Rumble match where KHALI had just entered and had cleared house. The idea behind KHALI's introduction was for him to be standing tall when The Undertaker would come down to the ring. The Undertaker would then take out and eliminate KHALI before eventually going on to win the match. As KHALI dominated, WWE legend Shawn Michaels had to inform KHALI that he needed to pose to the hard side camera. He actually had to shout at KHALI numerous times before KHALI eventually got the message and looked directly at the hard cam. Number 8, Luke Harper needed to remind Braun to kick him at WrestleMania 35. During the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania 35, Mustafa Ali suffered what looked to be a devastating injury. For some context, Luke Harper would hoist Ali up for a suplex on the edge of the ring. The initial spot was supposed to involve Braun Strowman kicking Harper off the ring apron, and Harper and Ali would simply fall to the ground. Braun, however, forgot his cue, which meant that Harper had to shout Braun's name across the ring to remind Braun to execute the spots. Unfortunately, although Braun performed the spots, it didn't stop Ali's eye from bouncing off the corner of the announce table. Thankfully, Ali was fine, and thanks in part to Harper for rotating Ali in the middle of the air so he wouldn't land on his neck. That is another great example of professionalism in class of the late great John Huber. Number 7, Batista has to inform The Undertaker that he needs to perform the tombstone at Bragging Rights in 2009. There has been some debate as to what went on towards the end of the world title match at Bragging Rights in 2009. The world title match in question was between The Undertaker, Batista, CM Punk, and Rey Mysterio. In the match, The Undertaker would hit a tombstone on Batista, and you could audibly hear The Undertaker ask if he's okay. Batista would respond with no, followed by "You gotta hit me with the tombstone." It appeared as if Batista wanted the match to end due to a small injury, and he needed to remind The Undertaker that he had to hit him with the tombstone before the match could officially end. Number 6, Lacey Evans versus Becky Lynch at Stomping Grounds in 2019. It's not uncommon for a more experienced wrestler to carry a less experienced wrestler through a match. This can involve reminding the less experienced wrestler of what spots they need to perform in the match, as well as making sure they are in the right position to take certain moves. At Stomping Grounds in 2019, a match between Lacey Evans and Becky Lynch was a great example of this. Although some fans state that the spot calling was too loud and completely impacted the match, it was needed as Lacey was extremely green. There is a section of the match where Becky literally informs Lacey what to do next as if she's never wrestled before, and Becky even had to call basic moves such as a back elbow, and all of this truly exposed Lacey for her inexperience. Number 5, RICO at Survivor Series in 2002. During the opening match at Survivor Series 2002, there was an infamous spot which involved Rico yelling to Jeff Hardy to perform a spot. If you didn't know, the opening match at Survivor Series of that year featured Jeff Hardy teaming up with Bubba Ray Dudley and Spike Dudley to face 3-minute warning in a tables match. The spot in question occurs when Rico climbs to the top rope to deliver a moonsault. Rico wasn't supposed to hit the moonsault in the planned spot, as Hardy was supposed to knock him down. Hardy somehow forgets to perform the spot, meaning Rico was awkwardly standing there on the top rope for a solid 15 seconds. Rico has no choice but to yell, "Come on, Jeff, god damn it," in an attempt to remind Hardy that he needs to perform the spot. The spot is so obvious that it's been completely edited off the WWE Network upload of the match, as clearly WWE don't want anything on this nature deliberately put on their platform. Number 4, now Shinsuke now. John Cena has become infamous for loudly calling spots in his matches, and the 28 Royal Rumble match would be no exception. The final 4 of the men's Rumble match featured Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura, and John Cena himself. The planned spot was for Reigns and Cena to have a face-off before Balor and Nakamura would attack both men. The issue was that the face-off went on for far too long because both Nakamura and Balor simply forgot about their spot in the match. This forced John Cena to yell, "Shinsuke now! Now Shinsuke!" And seconds later, both Nakamura and Balor would perform the spot and begin to attack Roman Reigns and John Cena. Just another example of why John Cena is one of the GOATs. Number 3, Bubba Ray Dudley does not know where he is. TLC 4 is often referred to as the Forgotten TLC match. It took place on a random episode of Raw in 2002, and it featured some random tag teams such as RVD teaming up with Jeff Hardy and Kane going at it solo due to the absence of his partner, the Hurricane. It's well established that these matches are extremely dangerous, and there's perhaps no better evidence of this than what occurred during TLC 4. In the match, Bubba Ray Dudley was so concussed that he didn't have a clue as to what was happening. Chris Jericho had to talk Bubba through every single spot in the match to ensure that Bubba would be safe. Bubba didn't even know how to climb a ladder or perform his own finishing move. It was truly scary, but thankfully, Jericho showed true professionalism in his conduct in helping Bubba through the match. Number 2, the 2015 Elimination Chamber match. The 2015 Elimination Chamber match featured, without a doubt, one of the most disastrous matches in the history of the Elimination Chamber concept. During the Chamber match for the IC Championship, Mark Henry's pod broke, which forced Henry to enter the match way before he was supposed to. This threw the match into a complete disarray as nobody knew what to do. Even the referee physically shrugged when Henry audibly asked him what he should do next. Henry would then enter the match and awkwardly stand there before breaking up a pin attempt. Yes, Mark Henry broke up a pin attempt in a chamber match. The match was falling into chaos, so Dolph Ziggler took it upon himself to call the match on the fly, audibly calling spots and telling people where to go. Although Ziggler took a lot of responsibility in this aspect, the spot calling was extremely loud and distracting, which forced JBL and Michael Cole on commentary to actually reference the spot calling by referring to it as Ziggler trying to strike a deal. And number 1, Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre. There is some debate that exists within the wrestling world as to whether or not Brock Lesnar truly cares about pro wrestling. Well, whatever opinions you have in relation to Lesnar, one thing is clear, and that's when he performs, he is there to do the best job he possibly can. A great example of this occurred on an episode of Raw leading up to WrestleMania 36. 2020 Royal Rumble winner Drew McIntyre had just laid out Lesnar with a Claymore in the ring, and as Lesnar was selling the move and heading to the backstage area, McIntyre came out again and hit another Claymore on the WWE Champion. The planned spot after the Claymore was supposed to involve McIntyre holding up the WWE title, however, he got carried away and seemingly forgot. This forced Lesnar to shout, "Hold the belt!" reminding McIntyre of the spot and making sure he looked as good as humanly possible. And that is it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. On the screen are some other top 10s that you should totally check out if you have some free time. So go ahead and click the one that interests you the most. I will see you all in the next video.